and how it evolved to today's structure, and what is the future of Chinese economy, and what is the lessons we can learn from our China's development, and what is the implications for Nepal. I thank you again for Dr. Karyan Raka for your wonderful presentation. They prepared a speech for me today, but I think since Chairman asked me to comment on the presentations by Dr. Karyan Raka, so I will probably leave my speech for you to read. I will comment a little bit on the presentations. I think Dr. Karyan Raka is very right about the division of 3 stages of China's development. But there are some misunderstandings about China's economic structures. For example, when the new China was founded in 1949, now the notion is that China chose to adopting a closed economic structure. But that closed economic structure is not chosen by China. It's because of the sanctions by the US, and after a few years, sanctions by the USSR, the 2 largest, most powerful country and the largest economy in the world. So China has to develop itself in a closed economic model. That's not by choice, that's by force. But every country, like Nepal and China, you have to develop an economy under certain given circumstances. For example, Dr. Karyan Raka shared the example of India's monopoly on the salt trade with Nepal. That is a reality. When Nepal develop your own economic policies, you have to take that into consideration. Unfortunately, you had a neighbor like India. But fortunately, you had a neighbor like India. Because India is a huge market, huge potential you can tap into. But at the same time, India's policy towards Nepal and other neighbors are not so friendly, and not so beneficial to Nepal. So that is, we call that policy constraints. When Nepal government to formulate your economic policies, you have to take your decisions under that circumstances. Another misunderstanding is about after the 1978, it sounds like it's a miracle. When China opened the door, the economy will grow in unprecedented speed. It seems to everybody that you just need to open the door. Then the economic growth will come, the investment will come. That has neglected the fact that before China opening the door, for 2 decades, we have consolidated our education, our Medicare systems, our industrial bases, our agricultural sector, and also we have created a more equal social structure in China. After the independence of China, for 2 decades, we have placed the foundation for economic soaring. So it's not because of the opening of the door of China that China's economy is booming. It's because we have very solid foundation. Because almost at the same time, India also opened its door. But we did not see any economic booming in India. Only after recent years we see that India's economy is starting to soaring. So that is another misunderstanding about China. It seems like if you have an opening policy, if you have a special economic zones, your economy will grow naturally. But that's not true. Your economy will not grow naturally. You have to solve the problems like a more equal social structure, a very strong agricultural sector, a very strong industrial basis, and a very strong education basis. But right now, what we see in Nepal is You had a very strong education basis. You had a very strong medical systems. But you have a very weak agriculture sector. It's become even weaker because I was told that Nepal used to be an agricultural products exporting country. Now you're importing huge amount of agricultural products from India. I want to share with you a few statistics. I just read a few days from Kathmandu Post. You know, every Nepalese politicians, leaders, business people, ordinary people, when I met them, they're talking about, we want to export more electricity to India, to China. Then we will have an independent economy. What is the reality? I want to share with you, Nepalese friends. Last fiscal year, you exported 10 billion rupee electricity to India. How much you imported from India, my Nepalese friends? You imported 19 billion Nepalese rupees of electricity from India. You had a deficit in electricity trade. One of the products you are proud of, and you think that will bring you economic independence. And the first months of this year, fiscal year, do you know how many cereals you imported from India? In 1 month, not in 1 year. You imported 7 billion Nepalese rupees of cereals from India. So multiply by 12. So each year you will imported 10 billion, not 10 billion, 100 billion Nepalese rupees of agricultural products from India. So I will say that Nepalese government, I was suggesting that put a priority on agricultural sector. That is very important. Also, you don't have a very strong industrial basis. Your manufacturing sector has been shrinking from 14% of GDP now to below 10%. Now we can see that every industrial products you're importing from India, China, from around the world. You're not producing anything. So one of the issues when I met with Nepalese politicians, leaders, and friends, they're saying that we have a huge deficit in the trade with China. We say that we welcome Nepal to exporting products to China. But the problem is that you are not producing not any agricultural products, not any industrial products. So what I'm doing here is I'm working with the Nepalese government, with the Right Honorable Speaker, to improve the capacity of Nepal to produce quality agricultural products and quality industrial products. So 2 months ago, we successfully exported the first batch of haylage to China. It has a potential, that single agricultural products has a potential to exporting $30 million per year to China. So that is only single products. So there are huge, huge potentials, my Nepalese friends. Your agricultural sector has huge potentials that need to be unleashed. So one of the important lessons I draw from Dr. Karyan Roka is that you have to make the right policies at the right time. So when China was established, New China was established in 1949, we have very limited resources. So at those times, the main job for the government is distributing those very limited resources evenly among Chinese people, so that every Chinese people can enjoy equitable opportunities. Every Chinese people can unleash their potentials. So after 2 decades, we have a very solid foundation. And then we embrace the globalization age. So we open up with that very solid foundations. So China's economy can enjoy 30 years of average more than 10% of growth. So that is the right time to take the right policies. India is also taking that policies, but it's not at the right time. So when India opens its doors, it does not bring economic growth to India. So right now, what is the future of China? What is the policy right now for China? Now we enter into a new era of economic development, which is upgrading our industries. We want to lift China out of the middle income trap, which means China has to embrace the world more, not close the door. Even though the US want to disengage with China, but we want to embrace the world more, including Nepal. So that's why our president proposed the BRI initiatives. It's not a geopolitical tool, as Dr. Karya rightly put it. It's a gift for the developing countries. Countries embracing BRI more fast, more effectively, they enjoy faster economic growth. That's what's happening in Africa, in Southeast Asia. To some extent, it's happening in South Asia. Now our policy is focusing on heavy investment in technologies. Now we have invested almost 2% of GDP in research and development. Now we have, you can see a lot of breakthroughs in China's high-tech sectors. Chinese space station is roaming in the space. China's submarines can dive into 10,000 meters under the sea. We are drilling 10,000 deep holes in the earth. And also Huawei has unleashed a new 5G smartphones a few days ago under the strictest sanctions by the US. That's all the vivid examples of how China is investing in the technologies. And we want to upgrade our whole industries. China grows. Our future is bright. And we want to benefit all the developing countries, especially our Nepalese friends. So my suggestion to the Nepalese friends is that your economic structure needs restructuring. When you do that, you need to put an eye on the Chinese economic structures and incorporate the economic structure more with Chinese economic structures. For example, your main agricultural products exporting market is China. So when you produce your agricultural products, you have to take more consideration, take more of China's domestic agricultural standards into consideration when you're formulating your policies. Then you can exporting to China more easily. In doing that, I think the benefit of China's economic growth will be best felt in Nepal. And I'm here to working towards that objectives. So that is a few thoughts I have after I hear what the Dr. Karya has presented with us. I may be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. I'm here only 8 months, so I will have more field trips to learn about the reality of Nepal and find more potential cooperations between China and Nepal. Best of all, I think Nepalese people also have the right to enjoy a more rich life, a more modern life, a more prosperous life. And Chinese people, as a friendly neighbor, we want to work with Nepalese people to bring that dream into reality. Thank you so much.